Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Grow and Clip Bonsai for Seniors. Today is Sunday, 8/15 of 2021. It's 72 degrees Fahrenheit or 22 degrees Celsius. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Today we're going to work on a rosemary. If you can't have a tree in the house for the holidays, have a rosemary. It doesn't shed the needles like a Christmas tree would. So we're gonna repot it, but we're gonna shape it with a 45-degree triangle. Well, I'm gonna try to do it anyway. We're gonna try to thicken up the base and the radial root base too. But you got to remember that it needs full sun and a good draining soil. It can't have a soggy soil because the roots will rot. It cannot be left outside if a frost is gonna come, because that'll kill your rosemary. And do not bury the base. So just imagine yourself treading water. If you're here, you're fine. That's your base. But if you go in the water and it's up to here, you're gonna drown the plant. It'll suffocate and die. So yes, no. So for the cuttings, I'm just gonna use sand, which I put in just an old mushroom tray that I had, and I just punched some holes in the bottom with an ice pick and put a paper towel down there, and I just got the coarse sand. And for the soil, I'm going to use 1 part vermiculite, 1 part peat moss, 3 parts sifted perlite, a half a tablespoon of Micus and Azus beneficial bacteria that I get from Extreme Gardens. Now, beneficial bacteria is not a fertilizer. The bacteria and the roots work hand in hand in feeding each other. So let's get started. Let's get our rosemary. Now remember, go for the rosemaries. They're on sale now. I was lucky to pick this one up real nice. Now it's got a nice thick root base. That the trunk looks pretty good, but let's shape it. So all I'm going to do is, because there's no leader in the front, so all I'm going to do is take my triangle and put it behind the pot. Try to get it centered with the pot. Then I'm going to take my shears. I'm going to dip and clip. And then I'm just going to try to imagine the back and just cut it. And here's the point. And we go. Now we can get it about here. And about here, and about here. You just got to eyeball it. You're going to say, Tom, that don't look like no Christmas tree. I know it doesn't. But we still got a good month and a half of growing season left. Well, probably a good month. Now let's turn it around this way. And we can shape it just a little bit more. So I'm going to cut it here, and here, and a little bit here, and a little bit here, and this one about here. So we're just going to try to keep it within the bounds of the triangle, just so we can get our base started. A triangle, you're going to say, well, Tom, where can I find that at? Go any place, any store that sells art supplies or drafting supplies will have it. Let's see where my clippings are. They fell on the floor. So let me get the one big one. There we go. Now all you're going to do to get it started, so we're going to just cut it at a 45. Now there's brains all over the place because each node is a brain. So all we're going to do is strip it off. Throw it there. It smells good. And just stick it into the soil, into the sand. Rip and stick it in. That's all you're going to do. You can get a nice couple of cuttings out of this. Now remember, that if you try it from seed, it's like 1 in 1,000 seeds will germinate. That's how poor the seeds are, so it's better just to do them from cuttings. And just put it into the sand. Just strip it like that and just stick it into the sand. So you're going to say, Tom, that doesn't look like a Christmas tree. Well, it's a Charlie Brown Christmas tree. What are you going to do? But we got time to grow it and shape it and cut it. So just pick them up in the stores. They're starting to go on sale. They're cheap. And you got nothing to lose. I forgot what I paid for this one. And just stick them in like that. There we go. And just put them in. And just pushing the sand around it. So what we're going to do, just push it in deep as far as it'll go. Let me get some water. And we'll just rinse it in. That's all you got to do. And put it in a semi-shaded location so it gets like morning sun. And this will help it to root. So I'm not going to, just going to press it in a little bit until the sand recovers everything. And I'll just put it, let's see, on my little tray here. And then I'll water it some more later on, and we'll see what we get out of it. Will they root or will they not root? I don't know. But triangles aren't that bad. They're cheap. So let's take a look at our rosemary in the pot. And I wish you can smell the rosemary after you clip it. It smells good. Okay, so let's take it out of our doggy dish. What I did before I did anything, I rehydrated by sticking it all the way into the water to get it good and hydrated, and I took it out. You can see the roots that were coming out of it. So what I'm going to do is take my shears into the peroxide, dip and clip off these roots down here so we can be able to get it out of the pot better. There we go. Just don't be afraid to clip the roots. It looks like it's got a good root base. There. Let's see if we can come out of it. There we are. Let's put our pot aside. Now we're going to see if we can find our radial root base where our roots start to come out. I'm just going to rake it out. Just take your time. That's really in there. I can't believe it. They are tangled good. We can't even find the start of the base of this thing. Now you can plant it a little above the base if you're afraid of planting it too deep, because it'll still grow. But we just got to work with the roots. They're really tight in there. And I mean, they're tight. So we're going to do something a little drastic. Because we took a lot off the top, I'm just going to cut right here where they're so embedded into the roots. I mean, they're so tangled, they're so fiercely knotted up that we got to get some of these out of there. This thick clump that's binding everything together, because they're just wrapped around. There we go. Cut it right through. Now let's see if we can get some of the soil off so we can put it into good soil. Okay, let's throw some of this. You can see how thick the roots were in there. They're one mass wrapped all the way around. So we're going to use our pot to throw out all our soil. There we go. I can rake them out a lot better. Look at that. Soil comes right off. All it was that hard roots that were so tangled up. There we go. Now, I wish you could smell it, because this tree really smells good. You're going to say, Tom, well, how come you don't rake towards the bottom? Because it's a young plant, and I really can't do nothing about it because we can't shape it. We need this for the trunk to grow. We need all these branches there. Later on, when the rosemary grows and forms our little tree, there, it'll help to get it established. There we go. And then we can cut roots as we see it. So let's wash this off. Let's see what we got. Now, one thing about, look at the root system, nice. Not too bad at all. But that's our little tree. We can cut this piece off that's growing down. And maybe this one right here. Remember, they'll make good cuttings for you. And this one's growing out unusually right out of the middle. And then we gotta, let's see how we're shaped. Not too bad. Cut some of these little ones out that are into here. I don't know if I can show it good, but it's right here. Now remember, one thing with rosemary, if they become pot bound, they quit growing. So they need room to grow. So if we take this one off, our tree becomes a little bit better looking. There we go. So that's making more of a centerpiece for a tree, and this one might be our leader. Depends how it grows. Now the bottom is pretty good. We got a nice radial root base, so I got a pot big enough right here to accommodate our tree, because like I says, it needs room for the roots to grow. So you gotta have your roots growing. Okay, so we'll take all this out of our way. Put it there. We'll let these soak in the water until I can get some more sand and repot them. So here's my mixture. Now remember, you're going to say, Tom, how do I know this beneficial bacteria works? Well, send in for your free packet at Extreme Gardens. You get a lot in there. I think it only costs you like $4.95 shipping. But I know you can get it in the States because they don't ship it out of the States. They should, because they'll get a lot of customers. Okay, so I'm going to add the soil mix in. Oh, this is my soil mix. You can see how nice and light and fluffy it is. There we go. Spread it out. And then I'm going to take my water bottle. Wet it down real good, and then I'll just push it in. And there you can see how nice it looks once it's wet, because it'll give the roots good contact with the soil. So all I'm going to do is flatten it out, put it in about there. Now remember, let's get this branch out of the way. Let me get some peroxide and cut that off. You're saying, why do I use peroxide? Well, peroxide prevents the spread of any unwanted bacteria on your tree. You don't, well, sometimes a good clipping, like when you scrape yourself, it helps to clean the wound. And then don't forget, once I get it outside tomorrow morning, I'll give it a nice spray with my sprayer and rinse it off real good. But there she is. It'll start. And remember, so here's our base right here. Right there. So you don't want to go up to here because it'll die. You want to go here or a little below. So, let's get this, make a little mound in the middle, get our root base right on top, and just wiggle it in, and start pouring in our mixture. There we go. All you gotta do is pour it in. And we're pretty centered in the pot. Now I'm going to take and layer it in with my hands. Now you can see I'm a little above, but that's alright because it won't suffocate, so to say. So let me get my little spoon here and get that all in. The main thing with rosemary, you don't want saggy roots. And do your research when you get a tree. I know a lot of you can't afford all the fancy bonsai mixes. That's why I do these other mixes, so it'll help you make it more affordable. Now, if you can't find vermiculite, then you can just use peat moss and perlite. Like you can use 1 part peat, about 2 parts sifted perlite, and that should help you out. There we go. Now we'll work it into the roots. There, just like that. Okay, we'll get Mr. Elephant, and we'll give it a little watering here. I know it's late in the season, but when you find a rosemary on sale, grab it. Just gonna water it in. There we go. Now remember, a little above is good. Now you can see your base. You can see that? You can see your base. It's not buried up to here. Now it won't suffocate. That's the main thing with rosemary. People bury them and they suffocate. They can't breathe. There we go. Let's give it a little more water till it runs out. Now my water, you can get aquarium API, it's called, a water conditioner, like for tropical fish, where it takes all the chloride and the chloramines out and everything. And then you'll have water that doesn't have chlorine in it. So if you can't get rainwater, the next best thing is get the water conditioner that they sell for fish before you put them in the fish tank. There we go. Now, what do you do with the sifted fines? Let's see, what did I do with them? Here they are. Now, I don't buy a fancy screen because I can't afford a fancy screen like most of you can't. So I got this at the dollar store. And it sifts the big particles out into here, and all the fines go into, whoops, you can't see. All the fines I put in this little tray here. There we go. Now what am I going to do with that? Aha. Let's find a spoon. So if you're going to have this as a Christmas tree, I'm going to put it on the top, and there's our snow. Not only will this look like snow, it'll help keep the night terror out. That little varmint always is... I have my... I can't pronounce the name. My little tree cactus that flowers real good. I had it in a little mini bonsai pot. And that thing took that pot and all. Where it's at, I looked all over the place and I can't find it. So hopefully it'll turn up later in the garden someplace. I have to keep looking. But the night terror is something else. And I don't see how the needles didn't bother them. He must have just was scrounging around up on the plants and just knocked it over someplace where I can't find it, or took it to its den. You don't know. But I'm pretty sure the night terror is a rat. Because I seen this big black thing the size of a squirrel. And I got all my rat traps baited, so maybe we'll get them and stop them from ruining all my bonsai trees. I have a lot of them that are ruined. There we go. Now, I'll take the back of my spoon and just spread it. Whatever falls off, falls off. But that's what you can do with your fines, and then you can use these for your little mini bonsais because it's just the right size for the pots and to sift everything. But there you go, that's your artificial snow. Let me get there's an old tissue. And just wipe it off. Because this is so fine, I'm not going to use Mr. Elephant to water it. Mr. Elephant is from the children's corner. So when I get it outside in the morning, I'll just put a fine mist on my sprayer and do it. So now you can see it better. You can see our trunk better. There we go, see? It's not buried. It'll have a chance to grow a nice trunk on these. One of these will form a leader later, but for now, we got our Charlie Brown Christmas tree. Just something different for you to try before you can, if you're in an apartment, just keep it in a bright sunny window. Now I got some cinnamon toast, and all I'm going to do, because it's a red color, well, we can't get no more out of it. What I can do, because we'll take it on the tip just like painting, and we'll just dip all the lipstick on our cuts to prevent any moisture from getting into them and rotting the tree, our little rosemary. There you go, something different. See that? And you got some nice, the start of some ornaments. Now they sell cheap ornaments at Christmas time, so you can always look for something to decorate it. And I mean, they're small. A lot of them are small. But see, you can see the red. And lipstick, remember, it's a natural wax, and it's a good sealant instead of buying all that expensive tar paste or whatever they sell. And not only that, if you can't get lipstick, and if you got a good quality wood glue is also a good sealer. So there you go. You got your rosemary. And what did I do with my cuttings? There they are. And you got your cuttings. I'm going to take these out of the water and just take my shears and snip this off right here where the crooked part is. And all I'll do is strip that, throw it in, rinse it, stick it in a spot that's not occupied. And I'll take this one and snip it. And remember, where all these leaves are, that's where all your little brains are, and that'll tell it, hey, we got to grow some roots. And then in the morning, I'll water it real good. If the sand, I'll push the sand down. Once it settles, I'll put more sand in there. But that's your cuttings. And what's good about sand when you root is that when you take it apart, you can put it in water, and all the sand will fall away, and the roots will be right there for you exposed. So, enough talk. I see the video's super long. I'm hoping that this thing doesn't run out. So remember, today's family night. It's Sunday night. It's family night. It's late. It's a little about around 10:30. So with the kids in bed, grandma and grandpa, if you got grandchildren, put them to bed, and then sit down with your wife, your loved one. Put on some Lawrence Welk show from the 50s and 60s, and you'll listen to some good old-time music. Enjoy a cup of tea, and sometimes he plays a good waltz. Take your partner and just do a little dance. That's all you got to do, and relax with each other and relax for tonight. So you take care. Thank you for coming to Grow and Clip Bonsai for Seniors. My name's Tom Novick, and have a good night. And enjoy a little Lawrence Welk tonight. You'll like it. Take care, and that's when music was music.